I'm Ricky Bobby.
And I'm Cal Naughton Jr.
Let's talk about children reading too early.
I got my eye on the three of you guys. You put one thing, you're out of this game. I run a clean game here. I have any trouble, I'll suspend. I'm looking out. Stop!
Bobby Orr behind the net to Sanderson. Orr! Bobby Orr! Scores for the Boston Bruins! Have won the Stanley Cup!
I'm Ricky Bobby.
And I'm Cal Naughton Jr. Let's talk about kids on leashes.
You ain't good enough to lick the dirt off our cleats. Watch it, jerk. Shut up, idiot. Moron. Scab eater. Butt sniffer. Pus licker. Fart smeller. You pop grapples in the toilet. And you like it. You play ball like a girl.
Anyone ever tell you look like a penis with a little hat on?
White men can't jump.
We've all wondered what gasoline tastes like. Don't drink it.
This route is going deadly silent. Cinderella story, out of nowhere. A former greenskeeper now about to become Master's champion.
It looks like I'm a wreck. It's in the hole!
Hi, once again, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner. Welcome into another edition of The Man in the Arena and the fastest show in sports. The show that every single week, every single time I get the chance, asks the question, who is the guy who decided that the Ford Mustang would beat the Dodge Charger in bullet? I want to find him. I want to talk to him. I want to give him a piece of my mind, damn it, because the Charger should have won the whole time. The hell with the damn Ford. But then again, I'm just a Mopar guy, so I get to say that all the time. Don't worry about it. My guest, I can see it out of the corner of my eye right now. She's already giving me the evil eye and starting to give me the shake of the head. We'll get to that in a moment. Don't forget, right here on The Man in the Arena, you can watch us live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and now on Twitch. And don't forget, go to all the popular audio podcast platforms when the show is done and you can download the show. Do not forget to subscribe. That's what it's all about. Make sure that you join us here and join us there and join us everywhere. Gee, what a nice thing. Where the hell is my Charger? Let's get to it, because the state of California has all of a sudden got everybody in the automobile industry up in arms. They want to have only electric cars sold there in about 15 years. Sounds like a good idea, but my next guest and I have often had this back and forth about the entire issue here. Plus, we're going to talk a little racing. I'm going to talk about the American muscle cars, and we're going to talk about American cars in the first place, because this is great. I get a chance to welcome back an old friend of mine, and all we do is sit here and talk cars, and we've been doing it for about years, and I'm not going to tell anybody how long that's been. She is known nationally as the Car Coach. It is a pleasure once again to welcome Lauren Fix into the fastest show in sports, The Man in the Arena. All that we got right here. How you been, Coach?
I'm great, Ed. It's good chatting with you again. We've had a lot of fun over the years talking cars, and as we call it, bench racing.
It's the nicest thing, because Lauren and I have known each other so long that we can get involved into some really deep discussions about cars, and we never get angry at each other. See, I think that's the way that it is with cars. Car people... Yep. I'm a Mopar guy. I love my Dodges.
And I'm a Ford girl. And German cars.
See, and the whole time I was saying that at the top of the show, I see you going, no. I saw the whole shake of the head here, and I got a buddy of mine.
Mopars are great in a straight line, but terrible around corners.
Oh, God, don't do that to me. See, but that's the thing, because I had the 69 Dodge Charger RT 440, which was my baby that I had to give up. My dad made me give it up. And I actually had, for a very short time, I had a 69 Mustang. But the problem with it was a 302. It was like your mother's car. You know, it had no juice whatsoever to it. So
right, you need a 351 Cleveland at least. You know, the good 4-barrel engine, a set of headers. Now we're talking.
See, if I would have had that, or a friend of mine actually had one of the original Cobras. And he beat
You're talking about the 2-seater Cobra?
Yeah, yep.
I had one of those. I've had 2 of those actually over the years.
He beat the daylights out of it. He destroyed that car, and I watched it, and I was going, the whole time I'm going, if only I get my hands on that car would be treated right. But that's just us. We're car people. All right, let's go ahead and start off, because we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. The state of California says that by 2035, they want nothing but electric cars to be sold in the state. Okay, here. Now, I see you shaking your head, but let me throw this out there. Here's what I'm an ecological guy. I'm big into the ecology of the country. Los Angeles is certainly a lot cleaner than it used to be. There's less smog. Electric cars are basically being talked about as the future. And there are people going that we simply don't have the fossil fuels left on the planet to be able to continue to burn them at this rate with all the cars that are out there. See, that comes from my perspective, even being a car guy. But you look at it from a different perspective, which is if you're going to have electric cars, you still need power to power the electric cars. So that kind of cancels it out in your mind, right?
And where does all that come from?
Well, at the moment it comes from fossil fuels, but doesn't it need to come from somewhere else eventually?
Well, let's go through all that. So first off, currently our electricity comes from natural gas or coal, right?
Right.
There is some nuclear power still in this country, and it is the most efficient way to get electricity to people. And a lot of the different states, depending on the state, is shutting down nuclear power, and it's a great way to produce electricity for the grid, which is outdated, but that's the next subject. So let's say we use wind and solar. Currently, with all the windmills we have and all the solar panels, even in the state of California, no state is producing more than 4% of the total usage because the usage is so high for electricity. Because when you want to plug in something or you want to turn on the lights in your home or your computer or whatever that might be, you need electricity. So is electricity efficient is the second part. So you have electricity coming in from solar panels, from wind, different sources, and it goes through a transformer, which uses a lot of energy. Then it goes out to the pole, which then you lose some of the electricity through another transformer, then to your home, which goes through a transformer, and then into the car, which has a transformer. So it's really not that efficient when you're looking at the full usage of electricity. The other part of it is there is a shortage of charging stations, not just in California, but around the country. So it's that chicken and egg thing that we constantly go back and forth with. Now, the other thing to think about is, okay, so we've figured that out. Let's just say for argument's sake, we've come up with a solution and all is good. All of the materials that are inside a battery come from the earth. That is cobalt, which is the big one, and it's highly dangerous to humans. It is lithium, cadmium, a product called neodymium. It's a magnetic material. It's a rock. The problem with it is it's a rare earth mineral, and there's very little of it, and there is no battery functioning at all today without it. And if you use that up, you're going to be back in that same position that we are right now with fossil fuels. Now, we are fracking whether you like that or not, but that gives us a lot of energy. Now, what other solutions are there? There are other solutions. So here's another thing. You can use your combustion engine. What if it used hydrogen or compressed natural gas? That can also be used to power a combustion engine or a battery.
Okay, see, let me stop you there because that's a good place to interject all this. Because you've brought up a lot of the great roadblocks here, but doesn't it still at the end of the day mean that in the year 2020, we've got to make changes eventually, and all you talked about are things that we are in now, but we have to have the technology that moves us forward to be able to get away from the fossil fuels and the fracking eventually, because it simply is a finite source. So here's the other side of that argument. Knowing full well that it's going to happen sooner or later and we have to do something, and we know that power has to be created somehow. Don't we need to bite the bullet a little bit here in many cases and say, let's start replacing all of these earth rocks, if you will, all of the geology that you will, and start to move to something that's going to be a lot more efficient and will take the place of all of these different power stations and different fossil fuel stations. Don't we have to get there?
Well, there's a few options. That's all we have. First off, the problem with solar is those panels also use neodymium. And when those panels are damaged and they have to be taken down, they're stacked up all over the earth. You can look up solar panel salvage yards. As they get damaged, a bird hits them, whatever happens, someone's got to go up and take that panel off, and it's not recyclable. And so that also is going to lead to some more problems because of the cost of solar panels and the fact that they're really not that efficient, maybe for a single home. But when you're talking about the amount of power you're looking at, that's not going to work. Okay, so let's add in solar. Very, very, very expensive to transport and assemble and maintain the wind power turbine. So those are not necessarily the best solution. Here are some other solutions that I think are better than those two solutions. One, there's a product called blue gas. Blue gas is compressed natural gas, CNG, but it also has hydrogen in it. Now, you may think, well, what is that all about? Well, to give you an idea, China had demanded that by 2050, everything was going to be an electric vehicle. Everything. That was it. There was going to be no options. Then they realized our grid can't support it. We don't have enough electricity. What are we going to do? So they're building nuclear power plants as quick as they can, but that doesn't get built overnight. No
Well,
matter
and
how
there's
good
still a
China
danger
is.
factor with nuclear power plants. Let's face it. I mean, that's why they stopped building them, because there's still a tremendous amount of radiation. There's the possibilities of them. There's what happened at Fukushima. There's what happened at 3 Mile Island. We haven't perfected. We haven't even come close to perfecting nuclear power. So it's time we stayed away from that completely and found something else.
Okay, well, that's the thing is, so as many countries or states are taking down nuclear power, China's building nuclear power because they realize they don't have enough electricity. But then they realize, wait a minute, what is this blue gas? They put $66 billion into blue gas because they've already got the largest blue gas station in the entire planet. It's in Shanghai. You can look it up. Look up blue gas Shanghai. They have a full station, and it can charge all kinds of different vehicles because they're doing is they can convert your gasoline powered vehicle to CNG, and because people can't all go buy new cars, or we would have, and that's no one can buy a new car every year or every few years. I mean, not everybody makes $1 million a year. And then the other thing is you can also charge an electric vehicle, and it takes a problem away. So it's actually an interesting solution. They're also working on algae. They're a little far away on that yet, but they're already testing it.
But don't we get to the point eventually where if we're just going to baseline this, that sooner or later, fossil fueled powered vehicles are going to have to disappear on the planet. Yeah. They're going to have to go away. Happen. Well, but you're going to at least have to get rid of them in major metropolitan areas. You're going to have to find a way to do it because the atmosphere can't handle it. Certainly, we've already talked about what's happening with the ecology on this planet, and we really haven't changed. There's no such thing as a really clean-burning automobile that burns fossil fuel, so electric does seem to be the answer to that. Isn't that something that we've got to strive for instead of just saying we can't do it?
Not necessarily. Over a 10-year period, if you look at a plug-in car versus a fossil fuel car, the carbon footprint of an electric vehicle is higher than that of a Hummer, believe it or not, over 10 years. So why is that? Because you're digging up the earth, cobalt, which is very hazardous. All the mines are in the Congo that they're using. And who owns every single mine for all the batteries? China. So we won't be beholden to the Middle East any longer. We can be beholden to China because you know how much they love us.
Okay, but there's the point, and your point is perfectly taken.
We're not going to do cobalt in this country. It'll never happen. It's too dangerous.
We need to get to the point where starting to look at this right now, and maybe California, while a lot of people are going to rail against it, is pushing us up against the wall and saying we have to do this as a nation right now, where we've got to come up with something, because if we don't want to be beholden to the Chinese or what's happening in the Middle East or anybody else for that matter, or destroying the planet wantonly, which we seem to do these days for whatever we still haven't learned over the last 100 years, we've got to do something. So isn't it better to do something and push ourselves than just sit back and basically wait for the planet to implode?
Well, I think the final answer is going to be, and you can hold me to this, that there's going to be a mixture of solutions depending upon where you live and what you're doing. Because remember, you still got farming land in the middle of the country. Not everything is based off of Los Angeles and San Francisco, although Los Angeles and San Francisco thinks that the world revolves around them, but that's obviously not true. So there's a couple factors we need to discuss. One, California had the right at one point through California Air Research Board to call the shots. They placed the rules on the automakers. Well, the Trump administration, like them or not, whatever happened, the EPA took that away from California, and they're fighting that in court. Now, if and again, I'm not trying to get into the political side of this, but it's facts.
I got it. We'll stay away from the political side. Let's stay with the car side of this. I got it.
But if the Trump administration wins 4 years, California will lose in court, and they'll have to comply with the other 49 states because there is a actual constitutional law that one state cannot demand for the other 49 states. And you would want that. You wouldn't want like New York to say no more beer, and then everybody has to follow. Well, I'm saying, so whatever it is, someone could say no more, you have to extract juice. You can't buy it from a bottle because it's better for fruit. I mean, there's all kinds of silliness. Now, if the Biden administration comes in, he's going to want the whole country to go green. The problem is you also have to look at the bigger picture. There's jobs involved. The half of the Dow Jones right now, as it stands today, half of the Dow Jones, and I'm making an emphasis for a reason, impacts the auto industry. Now think about that. That's not just petroleum. That's tires. That's all the subcomponents, all the technologies, the car companies. You start adding all this. Even Apple's a part of that now too, right? Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Everybody's got a piece in the auto industry because it's that much of an impact on our economy. So for California to make this statement, manufacturers start to get upset because they're offering electric vehicles because California is demanding it. And yes, they're going to meet that demand if that's what ends up happening, however politics falls out. But consumers aren't buying them. They're less than 2%. We are not interested in these. If you own farmland, you need a truck, probably going to be diesel. And now they have cleaner burning diesel, excluding Volkswagen and their massive screw up. That was all their fault. That was an overpromise and an underdeliver. Is a whole nother conversation we could have another time, why it happened and how it happened.
We've been having that Volkswagen conversation now, you and me, for a few years.
Oh, at least 10 years. But and I own 2 diesel SUVs and I won't get rid of them, plus a diesel truck. But I love diesel because it goes longer distances. It has better fuel economy. If you need torque, because you buy horsepower and you drive torque, and it's a blast, and I can fill up anywhere. But so here's going to be your solution. You're going to have gasoline. You're going to have diesel. You're going to have electric vehicles for those that want them. You're going to have plug-in hybrids for those who want hybrid in the city when you're not going that fast, and you want gasoline on the highway. So that might be a great solution for someone that lives in an urban area where I really don't want to pollute because we already have an issue. You can buy a plug-in vehicle. There's tons of different brands, even a Prius, which have been around and very reliable. Drive it around. If you live in the city, never leave the city, you can buy a Nissan Leaf.
But something's got to change. Overall, I mean, look, something's got to change because we can't just keep burning up fossil fuels in this country as if it was an infinite source.
There's less of it being used already. So you're looking at CNG and you're looking at hydrogen. Now, every time you go to get your oil changed, if you say, give me the cheap stuff, you're using fossil fuels. If you say, no, I want the good stuff, I want the full synthetic, you're not using fossil fuels. So we could all start by saying, next time you get your oil changed in whatever it is you drive, gas, diesel, or whatever, you can say, I want full synthetic. And that will help a little. It's not a lot, but it is an impact. And you're noticing a big transition where it used to be so expensive to go with synthetic. That's no longer the case.
And is it not fair to say that when you make the case about Wall Street, that certainly while half of the automobile industry is affected here, that again, it's time to change, that maybe they have to start looking at other alternatives? I understand there's some people who won't want to make the change, but if you wait until the last minute, then you're truly going to have an economy that's going to be affected by it. If you start to make some changes now, start to make some smart changes. Oh, wait a minute, I used the word smart with regard to Wall Street, but that's another story altogether. Isn't that the better thing to do for everybody?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me just throw a little wrench in your statement. I own a bunch of 65 Shelby Mustangs. They're collectibles. Are you going to tell me I'm not allowed to drive them?
No, I'm not going to tell you you're not allowed to drive them, but I'm going to tell you that there simply won't be as much gasoline available to drive them wantonly wherever you want, several thousand miles. You're going to have to bring it down.
Well, keep this in mind. Those vehicles that you're looking at, like you and I have been to like Barrett-Jackson and Pebble Beach, and you and I have seen race cars, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know how expensive they are. And then we're not talking $10,000. You're looking at Ferraris that are selling for $34 million, right? That will impact some wealthy people's investments.
Ooh, I'm so sorry for them.
But they have those people that have that kind of cash that you and I will never have. Those people have connections. Those people have access to lobbyists, access to funds.
Well, then you have to make it illegal.
They're never going to make it illegal because every single thing that you're wearing right now, all your clothes, your computer, everything you touch, even glass, has petroleum in it.
Exactly. And it's time to come up with something different.
How are you going to make glass without using petroleum?
I don't know. I don't know.
How are you going to make the clothes you're wearing? You wear a cotton shirt.
Look, as far as science is concerned, I'm more interested in how you mix good beer together and how the wine's made sometimes. I have the rudimentary knowledge of science, but I've got to believe that there has to be another way to do it because last time I checked, there are companies who are making some products without petroleum that has been made with petroleum in the past.
Right, and you're even seeing, the funny thing is it's scary. It's in deodorant. It's in so much stuff. I mean, they literally, it's like soy. If they can get it in something, it's in there. And then they process the soy with fossil fuels. It's like, it's crazy.
We got to stop. We're killing ourselves for crying out loud.
It's like a dog chasing its tail. It's like
the end result of all this is, I mean, we are looking to, and you alluded to this earlier, is the power grid. in the country right now. Look, our infrastructure right now sucks. I mean, we're basically at the point where we've got 10, 20, 30 years where the infrastructure really hasn't been cared for much. And I don't care whether that's left, right, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, it makes no difference. We still haven't done enough for the infrastructure in this country. Bridges and roads are falling apart. The electric grid certainly is right now completely susceptible to anybody who wants to get into it right now and sabotage it. So,
and the firewalls are not there.
They're not even close. Come on, there's 12-year-olds who can get by firewalls, but
that's why there's no autonomous cars today, for that specific reason. There's a bunch of hurdles, including weather, but you're never going to see autonomous cars as long as there's no solid 100% firewall. I don't even think that's possible. It's easy to say, but it's not possible. So if you think about an old grid that hasn't been around, especially I live near Niagara Falls, okay? So that pump has been updated many times. That was the one that Nikola Tesla built. It's still there. I mean, we're still powering.
Still working.
Still working. Well, the thing is, I was during 9/11. I was in Jersey City, so I was just across the water, and it really freaked me out because my kids go to school downtown at the time. And I called my husband. I said, "You got to get the kids." I was in a panic mode because my brain instantly went to next, and it was on the list, was the Power Authority because it takes the water from Niagara Falls. So think about how easy it would be for a bad person to do bad things. And the other part of it is all these electric cars. If the grid's outdated and the roads are outdated, how are we going to pay for this? I mean, there's no infrastructure.
Well, that's just it. Is it fair to say right now that the power grid that we have in the United States, and certainly what California is doing is different, because California has a different set of rules. They have a different way that they've done things. They've been a little more forward-thinking in many of the ways that have gone forward in trying to help save the ecology and do things a little cleaner. But is it not fair to say that the American power grid right now, if you decided to go electric, we can't handle it. We couldn't even come close to it right now because our governments have screwed, blued, and tattooed the power grid to the point where, look, we get brownouts now just on a sunny day where there's not a problem. In my neighborhood, we do that. I had 3 of them already today. When there were thunderstorms come out, boom, the power goes out.
See, we don't have power issues here, but I also have a backup generator too.
Go ahead, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and brag.
No, we've had enough ice storms here that we've been without power. My husband's
we don't get ice
he's
storms.
Like Tim Allen. I know. But it's funny because like Tim Allen, he can't just put in a generator. He's got to put in a generator, like the biggest monstrous thing you could buy. You know my husband, he doesn't do anything halfway.
Exactly.
But the whole thing with the power grid is interesting. So if you think about how outdated it is, even in California, and the brownouts and PG&E, who are telling people that's California's
well,
electric
that's criminal.
System.
What PPG has done, basically, because they haven't done
criminal.
anything to get ready for the fire season whatsoever. What they've done is is almost manslaughter. Is almost wanton murder.
And the thing is, it's all going to come down to money. They're going to have to pay some big fine, and that's it. And that's not going to answer it for those people who live there. Now, when you're looking at California as a whole, we think automatically San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, right? What about the rest of the state? And if you've ever been outside of those major areas and you start driving out like toward Nevada, there's a lot of the state, and I mean a bulk of the state, that has no infrastructure for charging whatsoever. They desperately need gas or diesel or some other option. And having an electric vehicle, they might be able to get out to wherever they're going, but getting back is going to be a problem if there's no place to charge. You get stuck between, if you ever had to drive between LA or San Francisco and Nevada, Las Vegas, you're kind of in trouble. I mean, you're going to find yourself in a bind. So these are factors that have to be addressed beforehand. And although it sounds great that you're going to put in charging stations, until you can charge your vehicle at the same time it takes to fill up your tank, you're going to have poor engagement with consumers. It takes 7 minutes on average for you to get out of your car, add your gasoline, put the pump back, get in your car and go. And right now, with the few electric stations that I can find in California, people park, this is very California. They park their car, they go shopping, and they go, too bad for you. And the thing is, in New York City, there aren't even any charging stations whatsoever. You have to exit the city or go to Brooklyn to get them, and they're all filled up. So people park their cars there as if they're parking spots, plug in their Tesla or whatever they got. They disappear, and you're standing there going, listen, dude, it's been like 3 hours. You have a full charge. I can't charge my vehicle. So I was running around from station to station event, and I had a Jaguar I-Pace, which I really liked. But I finally just went to the hotel and I left it there, and I called Jaguar. I said, come get it. Love your vehicle. Can't find a place to charge it. Every single place I went, I waited for an hour. If someone's got to leave, there's 6 or 7 charging stations. Nope. It's just
Look,
an attitude
the people
California
that I
has.
have problems with are ones. We're in a society right now where people can't even decide how to properly fill their car when it comes to a gas tank. Here's the ones that I always go to. You go to the big box stores, or you go to the ones that are the discount stores, and I won't mention any names because if I did, then I would send them a bill. And they need to be sponsoring this show before I go ahead and say anything about them, even though they're really good at what they do. Well, they've got
But
the
none
Long
of them
Islands.
have charging stations.
They've got
here where I am.
No, but wait, here it is. They've got the four stations on each side. You can put 4 cars on each side of the pump, and everybody has got to try and get on the right side. Why? Because they want to get close to the pump and they want to just go ahead and make it real short distance. If you ask people to take the pump and pull it over the back of their car and have to get on the other side of the left, it's a disaster. I mean, I've seen people drop gallons of gasoline here and people who struggle with it like it's a leviathan who are trying to strangle them. I got a bigger problem with that than I have with people finding electronic gas stations. They can't do it.
Well, the problem, again, we still come to the charging time. That's your biggest hurdle. The charging station quantity, the cost to build those. If you were to tell someone at a gas station, let's say along an expressway, you're going to take out all your 4 pumps you were talking about with filling on both sides, or 4 islands, and put in electric stations for half of it. Let's say that's mandated that half of it has to go electric. The cost to dig up the pumps, the EPA, the environmental impact, and believe me, I've worked in that area. I've worked with chlorinated solvents. I know about all this stuff. The money would be expensive. And then putting in the stations would be well over $1 billion to put in 4 charging stations at each location. And then how are they going to make money? So they make money on a lost leader right now. Come in and buy milk, buy bread, buy beer, whatever, and you're in and out. But who's going to sit there for a half an hour, 40 minutes, 4 hours? And here's the big one, the one that no one ever addresses and no one's going to address, is the health impact. So you plug into a wall, your magnetic field is very small. You have a dryer outlet at 220. It has a little bit of magnetic field. Use a 440. Now, we use 440. We have a manufacturing facility. Our 440 puts out a wicked amount of magnetic field. In fact, I intentionally put my office on the back side of the building because I don't need any more exposure. I'm already a cancer survivor. I don't need to go there again. So you're now sitting on a battery, which they say if you take your phone, and you put it in your ear like this, that is supposed to be dangerous.
That's the one I could never figure out. The damn phone, it's like the phone's not radiating or anything like it. It's just, matter of fact, it's going this way. It's not going towards your ear.
I know, but they're saying it causes brain damage. Okay, let's just say it does or doesn't. Now you're sitting on a bank of batteries and you're going to a charging station because it's actually alternating current, which is where you plug in, not the actual battery, not the DC. Alternating current has magnetic field. You can look it up if you want to be a chemist. You know all about this, but you can look at it and read about it. I know, Ed, you know about this. So now you're sitting there plugged in and you're waiting. Okay, an hour, a half hour, fast charging, half an hour, right? That's a long time to sit there. And what do people do? They sit in their car and they play Candy Crush, they play Words with Friends, they call their buddies, they do some text messages, maybe go in and get something to drink or eat, hang out in the car, take a nap, but you're sitting in your car for the most part, and you're now exposing yourself to that magnetic field. And what's going to happen down the road if they say, oh, guess what, Ed? We think we got a problem. It's a health-related problem. Then you're going to have to go backwards. So that's why it's good to have a mix. Let people choose what they want.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for all the cell towers in America to go out at the same time. I want to just see the entire country into a freeze. The lock. People's cars will be driving off the side of the road. Children will be absolutely stopped in their tracks. People will pass out. They'll fall down in shopping centers. They won't know what to do. Kids' heads will hit desks in schools. It'll be a brilliant moment. It'll be the brilliant stuff. Look, there's a movie out there.
5G's got a problem with it, too. There's a lot of problems. A lot of countries don't want 5G.
You got to go out and find a movie somewhere. I got to find it. There was a movie about 1 billion years ago called Americathon, which talked about that America was broke, and they had no phones, they had no nothing, and they had to hold a telethon to raise money for America. All I can remember is Meatloaf and the Beach Boys were in it. So that probably would fit.
That sounds like a D-level movie.
Oh, of course. D-level? Are you kidding? D-level is when it rose to the level of anything you want to watch. I think it came and went in like no time whatsoever. All right, car stuff here. Let's get into this. A couple of things I have been dying to ask you for a while, and I finally want to get into it. I started the show by talking about the Dodge Charger and the Ford Mustang. In my mind, those are the 2 great muscle cars of all time. And there's so many others.
Camaro, too. There's Camaro, too.
Well, no, wait. As I said 2. I didn't say all of them. You're exactly right. But here in 2020, as things have changed, and we have gone to smaller engines, more powerful engines, things that have changed with the dynamics and horsepower. My question is, what is and where are the American muscle cars these days? If you were to say the phrase muscle car to somebody our age, know exactly what we're talking about. Muscle car today? I'm thinking about some of these little whiny cars, that just sound like sewing machines rolling by, and that's what kids think it is. What's a muscle car anymore?
Well, I guess that's a matter of opinion.
Because
not all
yes, thank you.
schools are little buzz boxes. Because I own a GT500, a brand new 2020 GT500 yards, and it's about power, baby. About big power. I have over 500 horsepower. I have a 350R. I've got a lot of performance vehicles that are brand spanking new. I own about 24 vehicles, and yes, they all melt dinosaurs.
But what is a muscle car? How do you define one today?
Okay,
all right. If you just go by horsepower, that's one thing. But there were the belching behemoths that I remember of my time. Many moons ago, kids, when people were just Neanderthals. But what's a muscle car now? Give me an example.
A muscle car today,
what is it? How do you define it?
It's sophisticated V8 power. So there are some exceptions. There are some mild hybrid type designs, such as the Ford GT. I happen to have one of those as well. I've got a lot of toys. So you're looking at
what cars do you have in that damn house, for crying out loud? What do you got, a parking garage outside the house?
Here. I have a 7-car garage, but the rest of them, most of the vehicles are not here.
How nice.
You got to move things around. You have to, because safety. This is called safety and security, because they're worth more than everything I own. But you buy low, you sell high. You know what I mean? I'm always moving inventory. I just sold my race car. This is how we know each other from the Trans Am series. I just sold the Paul Gentilozzi Jaguar. So I understand. So I love my power. But the answer to your question, what's a muscle car? A muscle car is typically these days a Challenger or a Charger, which is the FCA product. It is a Camaro for sure. It is not the Corvette, because that's more sophisticated car. It is also the Mustang. And FYI, the Mustang outsells the Camaro and the Corvette combined. And the Challenger and the Charger outsell Camaro sales by a long shot. So they don't catch up to Mustang. Mustang's been around since 1964. And it's interesting is, you'll see it posted on my Car Coach Reports channel on YouTube. It's also on all forms of social media at Lauren Fix, my little plug. I just finished reviewing the 2020 Challenger RT. Let's see, this is a long RT 392 Scat Pack wide body. It's a lot to say in one breath. And I have to say, it was fun. It was a lot of big engine. Hemis are still hot. Now, while you think all these great green cars, like this happens at every auto show, at one end, we got all the little EVs that all the crunchy green people like. And at the other end, we have my kind of car, which is big, throaty, V8 power. Yes.
Come on, I want to see that double-throated 440. I want to see that dual exhaust coming out here, baby, to the point where you put your nose behind it, and the next thing you know, you're in the hospital for 8.5 weeks after sucking in all those fumes.
That would be you. No, the emissions on these cars are so different. I mean, they've done such a great job making them
They're a lot safer, efficient. Too.
They're
safer, they're
lot
cleaner.
Safer. Right, I have 65 Shelbys, and you look at that, and you look at the new Shelby. I have a Heritage. They match in color, this special Wimbledon white and Guardsman blue. And you put the two next to each other, and you go, wow, first off, the size is different. But in addition, you've got better brakes, better handling, better safety features, forward collision warning, cross traffic alert. You got all that in all of these cars. And the Camaro as well. I mean, they got ZL1 Camaros that are just freaking rocket ship cars. But people are buying them. The demand is high. And they'll make as many as you want to buy. And
so you've got one chance. Here it is, Car Coach. Mm-hmm. You've got one. Okay. You got a blank check sitting in your hand right now, and there is only one car that you can buy that personifies the American muscle car of 2020. What do you buy?
2020 Shelby GT500, hands down. That thing just kicks butt on the track, on the street. And I have to say, it is the best vehicle Ford has built as far as cars and as far as General Motors. Hands down, it's the new Corvette. I've driven it multiple times. Matter of fact, I have it coming to my house next weekend for another test drive. I am very, very impressed. It is all American made in Kentucky. And as far as Mopar is concerned, there is nothing like a Hellcat, man. If you want, or the Red Eye, oh my God, they've done such a great job. Tim Kaniskis, who's in charge of that whole Mopar SRT, which is street or track type package, really is passionate. And when there's passionate people working in car companies are successful. And when they're just doing it based on penny pitching, those car companies, kind of do okay.
Okay, so we've talked about the muscle cars here then. In your opinion, let's talk about the non-muscle cars for the moment. The best new cars, bumper to bumper, but the key here is American made, manufactured, put together, all the bolts and screws put together right here in America, but the best 2 or 3 bumper to bumper right now.
Car, SUV, or truck?
Which one?
Car, SUV, or truck?
Okay, then I'm going to give you only one choice in each category then. Car, one choice.
Oh, best built bumper to bumper in car. Well, there's not that many of them left any longer. I want you to know that. I'm really impressed, like I said, with the Ford Mustang. They've done such a great job, and I've been to the factories of all of these manufacturers. And I although you may say I'm biased, I think they all
you're biased.
Really, but I have to say the American products are really good. I've been to the GM plant. They build top quality vehicles. You will not go wrong if you're buying a Challenger or a Charger. You will not be disappointed. I think they build great vehicles if it's American made. Yes.
Okay.
And if you're going to all the brands, the Germans do really well.
No. We're gonna we'll do Germans another day. We're just doing Americans today, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Car, Mustang, SUV, one shot.
Ooh, tough call. I love the new Bronco. That is a tough call.
That's why we ask the difficult questions here, and I've been doing them for many years. That's right. Ask the tough questions.
There's too many cars. I love.
I feel like I'm Phil Donahue all of a sudden. Make one choice.
But you're making me stick to the domestics.
Yep.
For you.
No. It doesn't have to be for me because I don't have an American-made car at this point at this time. But I'm just asking overall the best bumper-to-bumper American-made car. But it's SUV this time. SUV.
All right. Well, you haven't seen it, but we've driven it. The Bronco 2-door, 4-door that's coming out. You have not seen it. We have got an early sneak peek because I'm a member of the North American Car and Truck of the Year jury. I was the past president for 4 years. I will tell you that
things.
Because you have to
these days. Okay, so the
put
Bronco.
a lot of car stuff out there. It's tough because I think the Durango with the Hellcat motor is pretty freaking cool. As far as truck, this is tough, but I'd say it's a tie.
Okay, well, yeah, you got SUV. So the SUV is the Dodge, and so now you're down to truck. One shot.
I love the Ford trucks because I own them, and I would say it's head to head with the Ram truck. The Ram truck is so awesome. If you're looking at an F-150, you can't go wrong. I mean, those two each have some really fabulous build features and stuff that you won't get anywhere else. So I'd say between Ram and Ford, that's a tough call. I'm not the biggest fan of the GM truck. I'm sorry. They do have some really cool features like the multi-tailgate and the carbon bed and all that. But if you're looking at something that's good for resale, that's going to last a long time, that has a multitude of, whether it be, hybrid or gasoline or diesel, it's Ram and Ford.
Okay. Now, last one, because I want to make sure I get this in here, and you and I are going to expound on this here in the future, because this is one of those things. We've talked about how things are changing in California. We have also seen now, because of the summer of 2020 and the COVID-19 summer, how sports has changed, how fans have changed, how arenas have changed, how stadiums, outdoor, indoor, have all changed here. The future of racing in America, as you think about it now, post-COVID-19, where it's going to impact fans, it will impact drivers, it has already impacted teams. But how do you see racing changing? I can honestly say that I might be able to see some lower forms of racing not being able to survive anymore.
I think it's the other way around, to be honest with you, and I'll tell you why. First off, this is my 40th year of racing. 40 years of racing. And this is the first year in 40 years.
Started when she was 6.
Raced. I started when I was 16. You can do the math.
I said 16. Stop. Leave it to me. I got it. I got you covered.
That's all right. It's all good. It's all good. It's easy to find out my age. Just go online.
Oh, stop.
I'm not. It's just a number. It's just a number.
It's a fake.
Anyway, as far as racing, I can't believe I haven't raced. So I just sold my race car. We've been running in the Trans Am series. My husband ran prototype cars. That is a very expensive habit, and it is. When we started 3 years ago, my husband was the team driver for Tony Ave Motorsports, and we had a great time driving all over Europe. However, it got so expensive in a short period of time that us smaller teams fell by the wayside. And the people that are racing in F1, Formula 3, prototype, the 24-hour Le Mans, all that, those people have so much money that they're buying rides for their kids. I mean, a perfect example is Lance Stroll. Daddy's got tons of money. He buys a race team to go F1 racing and puts his kid in a car and then buys the old Mercedes cars to put him in. I mean, so you're seeing this type of thing happening. A lot of racers like myself end up being coaches. And so you're taking out that middle chunk of Trans Am and World Challenge, which is pretty much gone. So all those kind of pro, but not big time pro, have sort of gone by the wayside because you can't get any support, no sponsorship. You have to be self-funded. So what that leaves is vintage racing. That's rich, kind of mostly rich boys that have a lot of cars.
Yeah, it is rich boys and rich girls who are out there racing the vintage cars.
Not all of us. Not all of us. I mean, if you can go out with an old Mini Cooper and go race. You can get an old Miata race car for $5,000 and just go out and beat the pants off of it. So that you can still do. That will still be there. The Sports Car Club of America should get an influx of people who are saying, you know what, I can't do this anymore, but I can do this. I can race a spec Miata. Cheap to do. I can race, an old
but are people really going to want to come out and see it, though, Lauren? I mean, because we've been spoiled to the point of seeing really great racing at a high level, and if you give people grassroots racing, sure, mom and dad and pop and the kids are going to show up, but that doesn't really sound very exciting to a lot of people when they've got other things to do with their money and their time.
Well, just take a look at I know the story of the Trans Am series. I will not say anything.
Don't worry, we're going to write a book. If we wrote a book on it one day, that one season in the Trans Am, nobody would believe it. Nobody.
It hasn't changed. I want you to know there's still a lot of
That's
going
what I've
on.
heard.
Yes, and we'll talk about that another time. But as far as racing, people have a desire to see sports cars. People that are automotive enthusiasts are much more than you know, because here's what's interesting. Of all things, I got a Lamborghini Urus to take to Fox and Friends to put on the plaza with a bunch of other cars. So at the time, I picked up the car in New York City, and all these little kids were coming out of school. They stop, they look at the car, and like, oh my God. And the little kid, he's got to be 5, 6 years old. And my daughter is with me. My daughter's name is Shelby, to give you an idea. We're really into cars. So the kid says to his buddy, "Pinch me, is this real?" And we're looking at each other like, what's the deal? He's going on and on ranting about all the specs of a Lamborghini Urus, which is the SUV. He knew the horsepower, the torque, the handling, the G-forces, the braking. I'm like, whoa. I go, how do you know all this? They are gamers. So the gamers are getting into being car enthusiasts and automotive enthusiasts because the manufacturers have been smart enough to know, hey, I've got a brand new AMG GT Mercedes. We're going to put that in there. Like behind you, you've got those really cool Nismo cars. They're putting those in there. So you're creating a new generation of auto enthusiasts, and they want to see this in person. They want to experience this in person because those gamers are future racers because they're that good. They know the track. They may not be.
If that's the case, then would you not agree that series such as NASCAR have really got to learn a different way of thinking because they're still stuck back 10, 15 years ago in how they market and how their drivers treat the fans and how they treat the fans even. They're still kind of stuck in the old dogma, and that really doesn't have a whole lot of goodwill, if you will, for the future of that sport.
I kind of got very disappointed in NASCAR and a lot of the BS games that they're playing, breaking it up into 3 separate races.
Oh, it's terrible.
When the green flag drops, the BS stops. And when the checker flag goes, the winner is the winner. None of this breaking it up, inverting the field, all that is just crap. We went through that with Trans Am through many ownerships ago. It doesn't work. The fact is, people want to go and watch a race. They want to cheer for their favorite driver, their favorite car, whatever that might be if you don't have a favorite driver. You can do that in Formula One, but Formula One's gotten really boring. It's Lewis Hamilton, it's Bottas, it's Verstappen, who's
so has a lot of road racing if you think about it, because while Formula One has gotten very boring because it's always 2, 3, or 4 drivers and teams that are there, it's always been one of my big things about road racing. Road racing is really great, but you can only see so much of the track.
Right,
I mean,
and that's why
it kind of gets lost after a while.
Well, the old Speed Vision is now NBC Sports and CBSSN, and you can watch those every single weekend. And they do all the European races, which we can't go to even Europe now if we wanted to. I watched 24-hour Le Mans last weekend, so I'm always looking forward to see what's going on. And I think once you go to a race or you get the opportunity to be in a race car, it's an experience you'll never give up. And if you get to go to a performance driving school and you have whatever it is you drive, some sort of performance vehicle that's not a convertible. And I know we've been on the track, Ed, but I used to take people around for rides and just scare the crap out of them. But they get out of the scared the crap out of me. How can I do this? And you create monsters. And I ran the driving school at Watkins Glen from 1986 to 2001. We trained a lot of people who are racing today, thousands of people over that time period, and they're still racing. And you know what? They're still my best friends. I have to say the one thing about the car industry, and I know you agree with this, Ed, is when you meet someone in racing or in cars and you just bench race like we're doing here today, they become your friends. They don't care.
Some of the
what your
best people I've
politics
ever
are.
met. I mean,
Right.
I'll be honest with you, and I keep telling people this.
Care.
Two sports that I've had the opportunity to spend time around, and I've met the best people in the world. Motorsports and hockey. I mean,
Hockey,
for
really?
hockey, because the players they start out as kids, their families get together, they take them to the rinks. It's mother, father, sister, brother, everybody is there. They're pushing these kids when they're little mini mites out on the track. Racing starts out like that too, with the kids in the go-karts who are out there and the families and dragging these carts everywhere all around, hell and perdition. I mean, it's
very
true.
expensive. Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that are wonderful. And the one thing that you did say, though, that I'm always afraid of is, and we should probably you could do a whole series on this, and I'm surprised nobody has to this point. There's a lot of driving schools out there right now. And I can tell you that I know two, and we can always talk off the air, who have started driving schools who are con artists, who are basically
that is true. But that's true.
Shoveling money out of people and saying, we're going to take you, we're going to make you professional racers, we're going to take you and introduce you to the right people. No, they're not. They're in it for the bucks.
I know those.
And that's all they're doing is they're conning people into thinking they're going to turn them into great drivers. That's why people like you are the legitimate ones. And come on, look, I go back to the Bob Bondurant schools. Million years ago.
That's not the same anymore either.
No.
That's all. We'll have that conversation off air because I don't want to get sued. But it has changed hands. Bob is not running the school anymore. We'll just leave it at that. Just like the Skip Barber School.
Sure.
Both my kids went to I call it the Skippy School. My son also went to the Open Wheel Bridgestone School. He's been racing since he was 6. And he's 26, so he's in his 20th year of racing. That's really weird. But I know. Paulie
wasn't born when I met you.
Was he? He was born in 93. Yes, he was born, I think.
Okay,
was it that long ago? I'll have to think. Okay, so I've known you more than 20 years. But anyway, the interesting thing is if you're thinking about going professional racing, going to high performance driving school, it's really important that you pick a good one. Ask your friends, people that race cars. Hey, you can ask Ed and I. We know who's good and who's not. Don't fall for the old trick. He knows me.
She knows. Trust me, she knows. All you have to do is be in motorsports for a short time, and you know where all the bodies are buried.
Oh, my God. We have to do a segment in the future. We should tease this about people that got into race cars that we call it cubic dollars. There's tons of them, and there's more every year that are buying up cars, buying up teams, and then suddenly they find themselves in prison.
We just may have to do that right after we talk to the lawyers.
Well, we have to tell the story without saying who it is.
Figure out exactly what we can get away with.
But the stories are everywhere. I mean, I don't know if we can get away with it or not, but I'll tell you the stories are everywhere of people like taking money from a church, stealing money from a company. Oh my God.
Well, now that Lauren and I have reconnected here, because I had to do this with the California thing, we need to do this more often. We used to do this quite a lot, and life and kids and COVID and so many other things all got in the way. But now that we're doing the show, we're going to have to do this. And oh, yeah, by the way, Dodge, GM, Chrysler, and all the rest, we're open for sponsorship, and I'm open to drive new cars. That's right. I'm still available to test drive your cars all times. Motorcycle guys, I'm out there too. Don't worry about it. That's what this business is all about, people. If you're going to be in this business, grovel a little. It's okay.
You have to call in a little bit of begging, but all they want is exposure and exchange. That's the big thing.
We'll do that.
Actually, I'm talking about putting together a program to teach people how to become motorsports or automotive journalists, because everybody wants to know, how do you get these cars? How do you get into this? And there is a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. You can do it for free.
I can tell some people the first way to get in the cars, lose weight. Okay, reminder to everybody on how you can get a hold of you've seen it too. How you can there's a million ways that you can find Lauren Fix. I mean, seriously, the woman is all over social media, but here's a couple of ways to do it. First of all, her Instagram is @LaurenFix. Her LinkedIn page, which is very important these days, is @LaurenFix. Gee, shocking. What come up with those names? Her YouTube channel is Lauren Fix, proving once again that
Coach Reports.
What
Car
now?
Coach No.
Okay.
Car Coach Reports is the outlet there, yeah.
Okay, proving that if you got it, if you got the brand, go for it. Twitter is @LaurenFix. Facebook @Lauren.Fix.9 is, where does the 9 come from?
I am the 9th Lauren Fix to sign up. There are other people with my name. So it's kind of neat.
Okay,
yeah.
So make sure that when you search for it, it has to say 9, because that'll be this Lauren Fix is the only one you need. And also there's on the web is laurenfix.com and carcoachreports.com. She's got, the hell
I'm
with
on everything.
hell with binging anything, for crying out loud. Don't binge anything on Netflix. Just go to Lauren's site and you'll be sitting there for weeks learning about everything.
And I answer your questions too, which is important. I'm on Parler, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on, you name the app. I'm on Snapchat, I'm on everything. But I will answer your car questions. So if you watch a review, you watch a video and you go, I didn't know that I have a question, ask it in the comments. And I've got like 63 of them I have to answer just today alone.
People don't know that Lauren was the first person to be cloned many years ago. There's actually 17 of her around the do all the social media stuff. Yeah.
My husband would lose his mind.
That would be, oh yeah. I just, as it's coming out of my mouth, I'm thinking of Paul watching this and going, holy crap, please. Are you just
No. What is enough? What is enough?
I don't need this. It is a pleasure as always. Stick around. I'll talk to you here in a couple of seconds after we close the show. But it's great to see you again. We're going to do this a lot more often because, quite frankly, I don't do shows that move as fast as this with anybody. So we have to do this a little more. And I'm still the Dodge guy. She's still the Ford gal, and that's the way it goes. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, Lauren Fix is going to join us a lot more often here on The Man in the Arena. And one of these days, we'll get in the garage behind me, and we'll start to fix some of these cars. But they really don't need fixing. All they need is racing. That's all it takes. Hang around. You're going to find out where to get a hold of us on The Man in the Arena. Also find out more about the guests that we have. Thanks to Lauren Fix. Thanks to you. Thanks to everybody here. Until next time, I'm Ed Berliner. Rock on, true believers. See ya. Be sure to stay connected on social media with questions, comments, conundrums, you name it. It's @Berliner Speaks on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. A great place to talk business and learn a lot more about what we do is simply check us out on LinkedIn. Just go there and search out Ed Berliner. A reminder that every single episode of The Man in the Arena is uploaded to YouTube. Just go to welcometothearena.com, or if you're on YouTube, search out Ed Berliner Media. If you would prefer to listen to The Man in the Arena, every episode is available for download on all the major audio podcast platforms. The Man in the Arena is produced by Entourage Management, LLC and Entourage Media.